And we were looking to rebuild the band at that point, so he came and tried out on keyboards, and we hired him. I won't mention it, it's such a terrible band. Jim started working with David Crosby, who he knew, the folk singer, and David introduced him to Gene Clark and Jim McGuinn. And these guys were, the Beatles had just come out, these guys were just enamored with the Beatles and was, basically doing Beatles songs to begin with, and then Gene was writing songs very much in that Liverpool early Mersey beat style, and they sounded great. They sang great. Jim said, "You got to come down and hear these guys." So I came down and listened. I went, "Wow, they sound great." They had acoustic guitars. They're singing three-part harmony. They're doing Beatles songs. As it turned out, about a month or two later, I get the call. "You want to try and play bass with these guys?" Crosby was going to be the bass player, but it didn't work out. He doesn't like playing bass. So then I meet this other fellow that's there, Mike Clark, who they had he was sort of playing around on a bunch of boxes as the drummer. So that's how that happened. I went, "Yeah, I want to do that. I like what they sound like. They're great singers." So I thought it was a great leap. And I, too, had watched the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show, and I thought they were really good. I thought there's something very magical about this. And that's where I hopped onto that. And basically the Byrds, we were not, as you would say, a garage band of young teenage kids that were trying to be rock and roll guys. We were all guys coming out of an acoustic folk, in my case, bluegrass background. And so the whole Byrd sound was created by trial by error. It was just an experimentation and based around Roger's guitar playing with 12 strings. So that's what happened with that.
So there's always been that rumor about the first album, just you and Roger playing on it. Is that true, or is that
No, it isn't. Actually, the only thing that it wasn't me and Roger. It was Roger played on the first single.
Right.
And people, I always hear this story, but I always say, hey, if you really think it's a bunch of studio musicians play the first album, obviously it's not. Hence, the Mr. Tambourine Man single is a very slick, very good rendition.
Right.
But it's all studio players. Among Leon Russell was on that track.
Right.
And Hal Blaine, the cream of the crop of studio guys. And at the time, we had a singles deal with Columbia, and they wanted to make sure, so the very first single out of the box, they were hedging their bets. And I don't think we were really proficient enough on our instruments to have done it. But in hindsight, it probably would have worked because it probably would have been more edgy and a little rougher than the treatment that came out. However, the finished product speaks for itself. It was a #1 single in England and in the United States and pretty much around the world. So the only record there were two songs that we did not play on, and that was Mr. Tambourine Man and the flip side, Here Without You, I believe, is the one I'm thinking of.
Right.
That's it. Everything else the Byrds cut in the studio, and it was us.
Now, did you guys have a pretty good relationship with Dylan? Is that how his music...
We got access through Jim Dixon of some demos, and one of which was Tambourine Man. And that was Jim's had some amazing insight into things, and he said, "You guys should really look at this song. This would be a great song for you." And he was right. He was absolutely right. So that's how that happened. Then we met him later.
Well, that's good. Now we skip to the second album. Anything that really stands out on that album to you, besides the obvious, the single?
I can't remember what's on there.
Well, it was Turn, 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 and, oh gosh.
I think it was a good second album. It wasn't maybe as groundbreaking as the first one, but I know what's that. We did the very first country song we'd ever done on that record. It was Satisfied Mind. It was a huge hit for Porter Wagner in the 50s, late 50s. And that was the first time we tackled some piece of outside material that came from a completely different genre. So there you go. Next album.
Next album is Fifth Dimension, which
Fifth Dimension.
I love that one.
Well, as I said a million times, 5D is one of Roger's best songs.
Oh, yeah.
I think that he ever wrote, and it's a great song. He sings it great, and it has such a loping feel to it. Crosby's harmony at the end is really nice. The 5D is a transition record. Gene had left, and became the four of us, and then I started singing again. You got to remember, I was the shyest guy on the planet back then, and I could barely sing. I didn't really learn to sing for another 10 years properly. But that was a big transition album, and it held its own. Now, is 8 Miles High on that record?
8 Miles High.
Yeah. Well, see, there's a major step to go from what we were doing on the first Birds album, which is a lot of Beatlesque type songs, although Gene had written them, but really neat. So I love the first album. I love the songs. I mean, to go make this giant leap to 8 Miles High was pretty amazing. I always wondered what would have happened if the original 5 guys had stuck together beyond 8 Miles High, because it was a real groundbreaking song treatment, and we were victim to a misinterpretation of that lyric by the Gavin Report, which is, as you know, a sheet that recommends certain records for radio stations. And it wasn't about drugs or anything. We weren't even doing that kind of thing. It was about flying to England. So, but great song, great song.
Now, the bass player for Yes has stated that he was really influenced by your bass playing on that particular song.
Really, that's quite a compliment.
And we've all been trying to figure out how you came up with that progression.
Well, I listened to a lot of John Coltrane, and I think one of the songs I really got stuck with was Coltrane had this sort of hypnotic song, this chant thing called Love Supreme.
Right.
A Love Supreme, and it went on. So I came out of nowhere. I think it worked, though. It really worked great. That's to be proud of that. And I'm flattered that other bass players would even mention it. So.
All right, so now we jump to Younger Than Yesterday, and as I've told you before, my favorite cuts off there are Chris Hillman cuts.
Thanks.
Have You Seen Your Face, and what's the other one? Time Between.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a real blossoming period. I got my confidence going there, and I did a couple of interesting stories. I did a couple of, we had changed managers back then. Trouble that managed us to also manage Hugh Masekela, that just come over from South Africa. And he used Crosby and I on some demo sessions for this young lady from South Africa. And it was so much fun. It was like, imagine, it was like the Graceland album. Only
Right.
these were real guys, and it was 1966, right?
Right.
And they were all over from South Africa. And it wasn't Paul Simon trying to do that stuff. It was a lady from South Africa singing this sort of jazz-type stuff. But it was so much fun playing bass. Here's Crosby and I, the only white kids on the date. I came home and wrote Time Between, and it has not relevant at all to what I'd been doing in the studio that day. What I'd been doing in the studio that day has been more like jazz, R&B, weird stuff. I come home and I write this bluegrass-type song. But it was great. I don't know what happened. Something opened a door in my head, and I wrote Time Between and Girl With No Name. I wrote all these songs in about a week. I don't know why it happened. It was great. I'm not going to question some great revelation, but that was fun. And that was the first time we used Clarence White, who is an old friend of mine from my bluegrass days. We brought Clarence in. That was the first time we'd actually brought a session player in, other than the time that we didn't play on that first single. So Clarence played on Time Between, Girl With No Name, played some great stuff. And Vern Godson was originally singing harmony on Time Between with me. And Crosby came in and he didn't like that, so he replaced the voice. That's okay.
It came out nice.
Yeah, it's fun. We still do that. I still, Desert Rose recut it in the 80s. And then I do it on stage. If Herb's on, Peterson's with me on stage, when we do our quartet thing, we do Time Between.
It's still, like I said, it's still...
It works. It's fun. It's not the most profound, deepest lyric, but it works as a tune,
It's a nice tune.
Yeah.
So now we jump to the notorious Bird Brothers. And
that's where another transitional period where we started the record with David and ended it without it. Michael left too.
Michael left too.
And so it was Roger and I, and we used Jim Gordon on drums and Red Rhodes on steel, and that's about it. The rest we did ourselves. There was a couple of string arrangements, I think, or
a little bit.
Horn stuff, or what did we do? Oh yeah, we just drinking them in old John Robinson. But that's a good album. That's notorious. Roger was always a joy to work with. He's a consummate professional, and always impeccable time as a player, great player.
Now, was it your intention to have kind of a country feel to that album? When I asked Roger about it, he had said really wasn't to him. They just, you know,